I want to take one particular application called NRI passport application. So NRI passport application I'm just taking. So what I want to do is I want to automate this particular application and just submit this form for a new passport. Okay, so just see what am I doing. So I'm just taking this application and starting with Internet Explorer. Okay, so in Selenium, if I want to perform any action like automating any application, what is the first thing that we need to do? The first thing is we need to identify the particular application. First of all, I need to identify the elements on that particular application. It can be a text box, it can be a radio button, it can be a checkbox, it can be a button, it can be an image, it can be a drop down, it can be a select box, anything on a given web application which you want to automate and which can be automated using Selenium. In Selenium, we call them as web elements. Hope everyone is able to see my screen. Just do let me know if you are unable to see my screen over here. Okay. So in Selenium, any element on a given web application is treated as a web element. For example, here if I want to perform an action of entering my surname in this text box, I can treat this as text box as a web element. I want to check this checkbox, I can treat this as a checkbox as a web element. So in Selenium, every element can be treated as a web element. Okay, so to identify any particular element on a given web application in Selenium, we are provided with different approaches. So what are those approaches to identify a element? A checkbox, a radio button, a checkbox, a button, a drop down, a list box, anything on a particular web application in Selenium we can identify using these approaches. So different approaches to identify a web particular web element on a particular web app is first ID, second name, third class name, fourth link text, fifth partial link text, sixth XPath, seventh CSS. So these are the different approaches. These are the different approaches available in the particular provided by Selenium in order to identify any element on a given web application. So the preference wise also goes in this way. First ID should be given the first preference, second name, third class name, fourth link text, fifth partial link text, sixth XPath, seventh CSS. So always give the preference in this way. So in order to identify any element using these approaches, we require some add-ons. We require some add-ons for every browser. So for IE, if you are trying to automate any application starting with IE, so IE is provided with an add-on called IE Developer Toolbar. IE Developer Toolbar is the add-on required for IE. For Firefox, we require Firebug and Firepath, two add-ons. For Chrome, we have an add-on called Firebug Lite and XPath add-on. So these are the different add-ons required for different browsers. Okay, so these are the different identification approaches, and these are the different add-ons required to identify any element for using for these approaches. Okay, so I want to start with Internet Explorer. Okay, so if you see here, I have taken this web application, and in the latest browsers, if you take IE9 or IE10 or IE11, you have a inbuilt IE developer toolbar. If you are using IE8, then you need to go to google.com and just type download IE developer toolbar, and it will directly take you back to the Microsoft website where you can download. See, download Internet Explorer developer toolbar official. So you can download it from here. Even if you have a pirated version of, okay, I think I have a question, just give a minute. Sure, I will share this notepad. So in the chat. Okay, so just send in the chat. You can hope everyone has got. Just if you don't get that, you can just message me. I'll let you know. Just check that I have sent you. These are the things required. Okay. I think someone has just messaged me. Just hope everyone has got it. The chat message. Cool. So next is, as I said, IE9, IE10 and IE11 has an inbuilt IE developer toolbar. People who are using Windows 8, the shortcut, in general, the shortcut to open IE developer toolbar is F12. F12, when you click on F12, you will get that shortcut. But the people who are using Windows 8, for you, you do not have any shortcut. The reason is, if you go for F12, there is some other option that is opening in Windows 8. So what you can go do is, you have a gear option in your browser, IE9 or IE10 or IE11. There, if you go there, you can see developer toolbars. In that, you see this particular IE developer toolbar. If you have Windows XP or Windows 7, simply click on IE develop F12. You will immediately get it. Or else, you can go to View, Explorer bar, IE developer toolbar. View, Explorer bar, IE developer toolbar. There you can see this IE developer toolbar. Okay, so let me get it. So I have IE8 in my system. So if you have IE8 or IE9 or IE10 or IE11, maximum the look and feel of IE developer toolbar looks like this. So you see, this is the IE developer toolbar. So let me start to show you the practical implementation. So as you learn, you will see the easiness of learning Selenium, because many people have a wrong assumption that I need to know Java to learn Selenium. That I'm sure and confident enough, within these 2 days of session, I can give you that confidence that you people will feel that I can learn Selenium for sure. Okay, so on your browsers, once you open IE developer toolbar, on the left top side of the IE developer toolbar, you have a pointer symbol. There is a pointer symbol. Click on it and immediately go to the element which you want to identify and click on it. Immediately, once again I'm repeating, just click on the pointer, take that particular pointer to any element which you want to identify. Click on it. Immediately you will see that a blue color highlighted region on that particular element. For example, I am trying to identify the surname text box, and the surname text box is now in a blue color region. And immediately you see there is a attribute section in IE9, IE10 or IE11. Any browser of IE, you will see a attribute section. There is a menu called styles, CSS and all those things. Try to click on attribute menu on the right side, the table you see. Click on attributes and you will see all the attributes defined for that particular text box. So what are these attributes? These are the attributes defined by the developer for this particular text box, or else you can also call properties. The properties defined by the developer of this web application for this particular text box. If you see, I have a class, I have an ID, max length, name, on blur, on click, on key, size, title, etc. So in our notepad, what we have written is the preference wise goes to ID, name, class name, link text. So for now, please forget about these four options. These four options will come in the later classes. Okay. So first we are going to learn first three options: ID, name, class name. So ID, name and class name. So just see, in this particular attribute section, I have a class, I have an ID and I have a name. So preference wise, as I said, I will take the ID as a first preference. So if you see, I have a value called yes name. I have a value called yes name. So I'm just putting in the notepad, just see. So the value that I have is yes name. So this yes name is the value provided for the attribute ID. I have taken that value. So the people who have IE9, IE10 or IE11, you have a search box on the right side. On the right side in the IE Developer Toolbar, where I am placing the cursor, there you can see a search box available. Place that value over there. For me, I don't have a search box. I have a find option. So I am going to place that value in that. So now once you place that value in the search box, place the cursor at the starting HTML tag. Place the cursor at the starting HTML tag. Guys, able to understand me? Able to follow me? Just do let me know yes in the chat, because this is a starting class and I don't want you to people get confused. Only 2 messages. So shall I go ahead? Okay, so let me go ahead with that. So now I am placing the cursor at the starting HTML tag. Why I am placing, I will let you know. Okay, I place the cursor at the starting HTML tag, and the people who have more than IE9 put the value in the search box. And for me, I am clicking on find element. Once I click on find element, I am getting a pop-up. I am now placing the value in that pop-up. Now, what was the value of which attribute it was? It was the value for ID attribute. I am selecting the ID attribute and clicking on find. Immediately you see a particular surname text box getting blinked, and it is getting highlighted with the blue color region. If you see, it is highlighted with the blue color region. That means the value yes name, this value yes name is identifying that particular surname text box. The people who has IE9 and above, click on place the value and click on enter button, or there is a next button available in that search box. Click on next. So immediately you should see a surname text box getting highlighted. Or else if you don't get, there will be a script tag. There will be a script tag getting highlighted in this particular region, HTML region. So, and in the attribute section, you will not see any attributes like ID, name, or anything. So ignore that particular tag and click again on next. So what am I doing is again clicking on next. You see, reach the end of the document without finding an element with those properties. That means this particular element, surname text box, is getting identified uniquely with this value yes name defined for the attribute ID. So the people who are getting a script tag getting identified for the first time, click on next again. The reason is that script tag will not have any attributes defined. There will be no attributes like this. So we can ignore that particular script tag. So whenever you are clicking on next, immediately you will see a script tag. You can ignore that. Then click on next. Immediately a input tag gets highlighted, and that input tag will provide you this particular attribute section, and this value is getting highlighted, or this particular text box is getting highlighted, which has a value yes name with the attribute ID. This is not sufficient for us to say that this particular value is unique throughout this web page. The reason we place this cursor at the starting HTML tag is I want to check this value yes name defined for the attribute ID is unique throughout this web page. Throughout this web page, I have to have this value yes name unique for the attribute ID. So when I place the cursor at the starting HTML tag and clicked on find element, it identified first the surname text box highlighting with the blue color region. Once again, when I clicked on find next and find again, it says reach the end of the document without finding that element. That means this, after identifying this particular tag over here, there are more tags. There are many tags available over here. So after this particular tag, this value yes name is nowhere defined at all. So in any of these tags, this value yes name is not available. So I was able to identify this. I was able to identify this particular element uniquely. So let me go ahead with another text box. I want to identify given name text box. So I have taken this pointer, clicked on this pointer, place the cursor on the element which I want to identify. So when I clicked on that, immediately I got a particular tag highlighted in this particular region, and in attribute section I got all the attributes. As I said, the first preference goes to ID, and here the ID value is name. So I'll just get confused, so I'll not go with name, so I'll go with another one called previous name. The reason I'll tell you once, because if I go with that, people will be confused, so just will not go with that. So I'm taking previous name now. So the previous name, I have a value called PRV name. So I'm just pasting that here. ID value is PRV name. So I'm taking this value again, placing the cursor at the starting HTML tag. Why am I placing? Let me tell you. I am placing the cursor at the starting HTML tag. The reason is I want to check this value PRV name from the starting web page, from here to the end of the web page. Is there any element other than previous name text box which has the value PRV name defined? The reason is Selenium expects that any element identification should be unique. No two web elements you are identifying should have the same value of an ID, name, class name, XPath, or any identification that we are going to learn over here. So any web element that you are identifying on a web application using Selenium should be uniquely identified. That's the reason I am checking that this value PRV name is defined anywhere else other than previous name text box throughout web page. When I place the cursor at the starting HTML tag, you can see this total web page getting blinked. That means this HTML tag is identifying the total web page. So see here. So now I will place the value in the find element, the PRV name, and selecting ID, clicking on find next. Immediately you see a blue color region highlighted on the previous name text box, and you see a tag getting highlighted here and this value PRV name. So the people in IE9, IE10, IE11, you may get a script tag. A script tag can be ignored. Once again, click on next and see whether you are getting this particular PRV name getting highlighted. So once you get that PRV name get highlighted, once again click on next and see whether any other element is getting identified with this PRV name value for other web element like other surname or qualification or any other text box or any other text as well. Okay, so now once again I will click on find text. So you see reached the end of the document without finding an element with those properties. That means after this particular input tag there are these many tags, but there was no tag which has this value ID equal to PRV name. So I can say that this PRV name text box can be uniquely identified using this ID with the value PRV name. Able to get me? Any doubts over here? Okay. So let me go ahead with the next. So I want to identify now profession text box. So if you see, I am trying to identify this profession text box. Here I have a class ID and name, but assume that I don't have an ID defined by this developer. So what is the next preference I take? Can someone tell me from the attendees? Can someone tell me what is the next preference I take? One answer. So name is the second preference. So Prabhar, we will take the second preference as name. So it's name. Then comes the class name. Okay. So I am going to take ID. I am assuming that ID is not defined for that particular element. So I'm going to take the name now. So I have a name defined with value called PROF. So I am taking this value PROF and putting it in the notepad first. Name equal to PROF. Okay. So now once again I'll place the cursor at the starting HTML tag. And placing the cursor at the starting HTML tag, going to find, in the find I'm putting the value. Now I need to select name as the attribute. So people with IE9 and above, you can simply put the value in the search box and click on next. Ignore the script tag. Ignore the script tag and verify again. So once again, click on next. Immediately you see the blue color highlighted region on the profession text box, and you see this particular tag getting highlighted over here. So once again, can I say now this value is unique or not? Tell me, can I say now this value is unique or not? Can you put in the chat whether I can say the value is unique or not? No. Prabhar, no. Next. Yes. Next. Anyone want to answer? Yes or no? Any. Just give me the answer as yes or no. Yes, you have to click find and search. Next. Any more questions? Any answers more? Okay. So, yes, both of them are correct. See, we have checked only once, but I have some more tags available here. So I need to check whether this particular value PROF is defined anywhere else in this below tags as well. So once again, I will click on find the next. Or the people with IE9 and above, you can just click on next button or click on enter button, placing the cursor in the search box, and you will see whether it is coming or not. See, reach the end of the document. What is the default for script tag? Is it TR? No. Script tag will have the tag as script only. So the script tag will have always have script. So did you get that? Script as a tag? Got it? Okay. So now I can say that this PRO value defined for the attribute name can identify that particular web element profession text box uniquely. Okay, so now I would like to take another web element called color of hair. So I'm taking color of hair. Here I am assuming I don't have an ID, I don't have a name. So what is the third preference goes to? Can someone tell me what is the third preference goes to? Okay, one answer. Next. Next. Okay, so it goes to third preference goes to class name. So I have a class defined. As I am assuming that ID is not there, name is not there, I am taking the class value. So I am taking this class value, again placing the cursor at the starting HTML tag. So place the cursor at the starting HTML tag, clicking on find element, placing the value. Now I am selecting class. So the people with IE9 and above, you can take can put in the search box and click on next. Immediately you see I was trying to identify color of hair, and you see once again just can see what is happening. Surname text box getting highlighted. Just see that it was blinking. So I was trying to identify full color of hair. It was identifying surname text box. Once again, I'm clicking on next. You see given name text box getting highlighted. Find next, previous name getting highlighted. So can I say that, can I use this value UPP? So class with value UPP to identify the color of hair text box. Can I identify color of hair text box to identify it uniquely for with UPP value defined for this particular class name attribute? I got one answer. So any more? Two answers. Next. Okay. So no, we cannot identify this particular any element which has a repeated value. So now Selenium will be confused. what element I should perform an action. For me as an automation engineer, I feel, yes, I need to perform the action of color of hair. But Selenium sees, oh my God, these many elements are getting identified. What element I should perform the action? So Selenium blindly performs the action on the first identified element. Selenium blindly performs the action on the first identified element. So can someone say which was the first identified element when I was using UPP? Perfect. The surname is the first element identified. So Selenium will perform the action immediately on the surname text box. For me it was IE, but it was for me it was a color of hair, but it identified surname. Okay, so this is how you identify an element using ID, name, and class name. So small important thing you need to remember, that if an attribute has a value called ABC, attribute called ID equal to ABC, and for one web element, for another web element the same attribute has the value ABC, you cannot use that particular attribute to identify that particular element. Okay, you cannot use that particular element to identify that particular attribute. But remember that if I have an attribute ID equal to ABC, and for different web element with attribute equal to ABC, if I have in this way ID equal to ABC and for one web element, and another web element has a name attribute with value ABC, this is accepted. This is accepted. The reason is Selenium first looks for the attribute. Selenium first looks for the attribute, then looks for the value. If you see in this particular surname text box, this class also had the same value UPP, not the ID or the name. Always remember, two different attributes can have the same value, but the same attributes cannot have the same value. Able to get me?